Hey kids, it's Englentine here. Now I've got an article I've been wanting to talk about. At this point it's about a week old, and I understand that means it's about 6 years in internet time, but some of the stuff is ongoing, so I figure it can stand the test. But yeah, I just wanted to comment on a few things here because it's all about how Marvel is tanking. Now, of course, we in the comic book skeptic community have been saying stuff like this all along. And finally, somebody's put it into print that Marvel Comics are rumored to be in some serious trouble. And they go on to say, it's time for that rumor mill to start spinning, and it might be a big one. Word around the comic book campfire is that Marvel's line of comic books are a disaster behind the scenes, and big changes are coming our way. And it says you're going to have to take this with a huge grain of salt, but the news is showing up on message boards across 4chan on their diverse replacement characters like Amadeus Cho as the Hulk, Wade Wilson as Captain America, Jane Foster as Thor, etc., etc., etc. What's adding more to the idea that this might be all smoke and no fire is the people at Bleeding Cool are stating that these rumors are just rumors. So even take that with a grain of salt because it is Bleeding Cool. Or even just take it with a grain of salt because it's also what we in the comic book skeptic community have been saying for a while. Anyway, it continues to go on. The editorial is miserable, understaffed, underexperienced, and overworked. Once again, you hear a lot of this from Captain Cummings and diversity. The direction at the top of the corporate level is a mess of political end-to-end fighting. They all look the fool to Disney because of Feige's split, and the bad PR and constant gaming of their declining sales is wearing on them. Of course, we've all heard about the numbers games. Top brass want to make a hard left back to what worked with Steve, Thor, Tony, Banner, and other recognizable faces. And that's what I've been saying. It's sure, fine, bring in the new characters, but you have to have the characters that people are seeing on the movie screen on the shelves. Editorial knows how bad it's going to look to push all of their diversity celebrations aside. Reality is those books didn't sell. A lot of it had to do with Marvel's chintzy practices finally reaching a breaking point with fans, but the internal editorial spin is that comic shop fans aren't ready to embrace change. Now, they're saying it's editorial spin because it's a nice way of putting the fact that Marvel blamed it on we don't like diverse characters. But the truth is comic book fans don't like change. I mean, anytime there's been major change, there's been a group of fans, and this time, maybe it's us, who always say, no, 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 bring back the characters. Except we aren't saying get rid of the new characters. We're just saying put them back on the shelf with the classic characters and write them better. Sure, we accept new characters all the time. But it just doesn't, we hate it when writers go against character, and that's been happening a lot. But when you bring in a character and say, okay, well now that's Hawkeye. Well, no, we're going to call her Kate Bishop from now on, which is what happens. The only people calling her Hawkeye are the people writing it. Otherwise, everybody calls her Kate Bishop. Same with Hulk. Does anybody really say Totally Awesome Hulk, or do they say Amadeus Cho? Wouldn't it be nice for these people to actually get their own identity? The terrible reaction to Hydra Cap's Secret Empire forced a change in plans. Originally, it was going to end with a quasi-Dark Reign scenario where Hydra is vanquished thanks to Kubik's shenanigans, and the World Security Council from the movies steps in to assume power over the superheroes, and everything has a Civil War-era overtones with the registrations, boot camps, the idea of an Inhuman ban. The vanishing point would be a way to bring back Steve, Tony, Thor, Banner, sort of like Hickman's Time Runs Out jump skip, but in reverse. It would rewind the characters to before the Hydra subversion stars. The classic heroes realize that they've lost touch with the people and need to learn how to fight for them again. In the meantime, the new generation of Miles, Kamala, Riri, and other champions would form the Resistance against the WSC state. Generations was also planned to be the transition from the classic guys taking a step back and letting the new generation lead the charge, which if this is anything to be believed, we can see that going on with the Generation books. I mean, all of them are, well, I'm not as good as these people. Look. Now, I do have to say something. This article does take pot shots, but they're little. They're real subtle, and you have to pay attention to the wording like this one. Legacy is a rush job. They can't afford to take the classic characters off the table like that for so long, but they also don't want to piss off the new diverse audience they've been trying to court. The audience has always been diverse. Anybody can read the comic books. This is that same Alex Alonso thing where, oh, it's not a medium for white people anymore. It never was. Anybody could read them. Okay, anyway, where are we? They're trying to have their cake and eat it too and please all masters. It's a scattershot way to do business and buy time while they write the course on several books. It's not going to be about new number ones, but milestone 500, 600, 800 issues. A lot of these big volume numbers are really stretching the definition, but the constant relaunches have started to seriously damage the trade department's ability to plan out long-term marketing. Thank you. See, this right here is actually contradicting anything that says, oh, well, they're not selling because they're diverse characters. There's a whole slew of reasons why Marvel has been tanking, least of all being the ethnicity of the characters they've been creating. They're bringing back the Ultimate line for teen heroes. Miles will become the Ultimate Spider-Man again. Siri, which I'm sure because they hire no editors, they mean Riri, becomes Ultimate Iron Man. X-Men Blue becomes Ultimate X-Men. Champions becomes the Ultimate. The only adult character that will have a regular presence is Captain Marvel because they want her to be seen as a prominent character to the overarching power structure of the World Security Council's S.H.I.E.L.D. and other elements that will factor into her movie heavily. And they'll still be making guest appearances in the main books, but don't expect them to anchor any more franchises. Bendis staying on Miles and Riri. Hopeless is still on Ultimate X-Men. New Ultimates writer is Amy Reeder. That's kind of cool. And so long as they, I think that's pretty neat to give them their own line anyway. I would put them in the whole Ultimate universe myself and just have that be them. Create a whole world for them to play with. And yes, you could still have Captain Marvel. You could still have an adult superhero or two, or even Nick Fury, watching over them. Mark Waid is a stopgap on Cap to bridge the Legacy launch. Then he takes over. Iron Man with 600. Doom will be the main villain. It's good to find him. He's going to be Doom again. Silliness to make him Iron Man. Why would Victor Von Doom lower himself to take anybody else's name? I just never got that. And the fact that Mark Waid is a stopgap on Cap, I wonder what that actually means. And I hope it's good Mark Waid, not modern Mark Waid. Coates is taking over Cap with 700. Oh, God help us. They want him on the book to endorse the image rehabilitation. Really? There's a lot of face-palming internally about the Cap as a Nazi talk. He's on both that and Black Panther as long as his schedule allows. I got news for you. You think that people are face-palming themselves over Captain America with being a Nazi under Nick Spencer? Wait until Coates gets a hold of them. They got lucky with Greg Pak and Hulk. It leads into a Planet Hulk revival pretty seamlessly. Oh, Lord, they're going back to old stories. Is that what the future of Marvel holds for us? Old stories? Jane Foster dying was always the end game with the storyline, but the positive response with the female fans means they're trying to find a way to make her stick around. Tentatively planning to make her the new Valkyrie, as the movie version is a blank slate and no one cares about the 70s Defenders character. Well, the reason why nobody cares about the 70s Defenders character is because instead of bringing her to the front, they made Jane Foster Thor. If you had a good writer and artist behind this 70s Valkyrie character, then, there would be some interest. Classic Thor will be spacebound for a while, definitely through Ragnarok. Slott is off Amazing Spider-Man. They're going to move him over to Friendly Neighborhood. The fear is he would sign exclusive with DC if they took it away from him completely. Plus, he struggles with deadlines and there's less risk with him off to the side. They can't ignore declining sales anymore and it's time for a refresh. Gee, you would almost think that he spends way too much time on Twitter talking about Trump. Spencer was earmarked for Amazing Spider-Man for a while, but he's earned it after taking the heat for Secret Empire. Way to fail upwards, Nikki. Plus, there are fans of his Superior Foes book and editorial, and the plan is to emphasize tech-based criminals. Go smaller scale, focus on New York City. Yes, like the movie. No, they're not going to de-age him to a teenager, although it is a corporate synergy idea that has been floated. Editorial has been able to argue that there's no great way to do it yet, and they're hoping that Tom Holland ages up, and they gave up on that idea. And the younger X-Men are an albatross caused by first-class synergy. No major plans for MJ beyond guest spots here and there. Marriage is not coming back ever because they don't like to listen to fans, or they don't read Superman, which is kicking ass being a family man book. Renew Your Vows will stick around until it's a money loss. It's just a spin-off that had some legs, like Spider-Gwen, Silver Sable, Black Cat. Plans are being developed. Big plans for the Venom series to have a central role in Marvel events. Gotta get that movie synergy. The X-Men are still in a tight spot. Resurrection was itself a rush job after the Inhumans movie push was officially kaput. And there was no future for Family of Books because of the Fox issue. They still can't create new ideas that could go towards the movies, so it's literally just nostalgia retreads. Now, let's be honest about this. Amazing Spider-Man has been Amazing Spider-Man for a while, and until Dan Slott went Twitter happy, he was viable. So I don't buy into the, oh, we only have the same few characters, because they've got a huge amount of characters already created that they could use to put some vitality into the situation. Anywho, Uncanny will be back next year with Xavier. Old Man Logan is sticking around for the foreseeable future, with X-23 becoming his sidekick. The book will be called Wolverine. They burned out Deadpool fans with price gouging, and not to mention about 60,000 titles. So no plans for spin-off series, but there will always be miniseries on the side to line out the trades. You know what? If they just cut down Deadpool to one title and make him something special again, I think that would be good. I know it's just a personal opinion, but there's really a Deadpool saturation. Seriously, don't expect the classic Fantastic Four anytime soon. Ike has seemingly dug his heels in. Even though Fox will probably never figure out what to do with him, he's spiting the brand because of how bad the negotiations went. Sue and Reed and the kids are seen as boring enough to sacrifice. 2-in-1 is basically a containment book for people to get their F4 fix. It's an inventory book. No set writer. It's like Avenging Spider-Man or A+X. Different writers will get used to different pet characters. And this is where I just think he's lost his friggin' mind. Because if they made good movies, of course, they would advertise the comics. So you can only win in this situation. You know, it's like a child. You know, they didn't get his way, so he's not letting anybody else play with the toys. And it's also indicative of what really is wrong with Marvel. So it seems like they wanted to do something different with the industry so much that they went outside of people who were not part of the industry or were never really big fans of the industry or didn't understand it. And they don't really care about the characters. So all the characters that we hold dear are just replacements. I mean, it does not matter. It doesn't matter if they're replaced. It doesn't matter if they go away. It doesn't matter what they do. And it's not just the Fantastic Four. It's any Marvel character. Are they in character? Are they out of character? It doesn't matter. Just so long as they can print out a #1 comic to reboot something and get a short boost of sales. We need somebody who cares about the character, who's cared about the industry. And unfortunately, Marvel so far has not delivered. Ms. Marvel is in a funky spot because most at Marvel are aware that something organically special happened with her book. She's basically the new Runaways, a special project with a special writer's connection. It will last as long as Wilson wants to write her, with a focus on bookstore market while she pops in and out of other books when relevant. They want the audience to have enough familiarity with her because it's inevitable that she'll be adapted sooner than later and it's way too soon for her to be introduced into any Carol Danvers sequels, so the TV division might snag her for their Hulu freeform teen show pitches. So Marvel knows that it's a vanity project, but since it was a successful vanity project, they're going to let it run until G. Willow decides that she's done with it. And this could cause a problem because you can end up with a Dan Slott situation where she just thinks she's untouchable and continues to do some sort of bad habit. Not saying it will happen, it's just a lot of these books are not selling. And they got to really ask themselves, is it wise to keep a vanity project going just because it caters to some sort of demographic? Moon Girl is saved by her trade sales, but the threshold is much lower for if sales drop any lower. Wilson is also taking over Captain Marvel. They need to make it work, and she'll do the best job tying the legacy together. Kamala, Monica Rambeau, Sword, it's all a part of it. Runaways is just a mini-series. They just want the trade out in time for the Hulu show. They can't seem to get readers to care if it's not Brian K. Vaughan, but they know people will still love the franchise. And frankly, I can't even begin to care about it, even with Brian K. Vaughan. Every time they said rinse, I just wanted to slap the book. Cloak and Dagger and New Warrior series are coming. Squirrel Girl is wrapping up, and North is moving her storylines over to New Warriors, where she'll be a main character. Okay, now I saw the preview for Cloak and Dagger, and it looked okay, but I'm starting to notice a very disturbing pattern going on with these comic book series. Electro, Bullseye, and Kingpin tanking so hard shook 'em. And now they need a Marvel Knights Netflix corner to be sustainable, so they're relying on the Bendis Defenders and Jessica Jones. And I gotta tell you, this is kind of sad because the Kingpin was one of the best series of the year so far. Bullseye was good, Elektra was passable, but Bullseye and Kingpin definitely deserved more love than what they received. Talk about a series that deserved more love and definitely needs a bigger audience is Justin Jordan on Moon Knight. Now the big hope is that he can deliver Marvel a mature, critically acclaimed book. He did that before. The first 15 issues, the one that ended earlier this year, is amazing, and I highly recommend anybody to pick it up. It's amazing that this is being produced at Marvel these days, or well, it was anyway. So Secret Warriors and Royals are already wrapping up. Rosenberg is moving over to one main Inhumans book. Quake from S.H.I.E.L.D. will be background characters until Agents wrap up. This apparently is the last season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, here's the thing. They're saying that Ahmed could have Black Bolt until the sales drop. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure that doesn't happen, because this is one of the few things that are being produced by Marvel that's really worth it. I believe giving credit where credit is due, and Black Bolt just is the cream that rises to the top. Seriously, try this title out at least once. Punisher War Machine is just one storyline involving Stark Tech. They want to pull the character back from some of the real-life darkness and imagery. Nate Edmondson's rep plus Secret Empire has made him ugly, and I agree with that. The whole Secret Empire stuff should be embarrassing to all of them. They're saying that nobody cared about Cloonan's run. I thought it was a good run. And they want to bring him back down to street level and with less focus on real guns and more emphasis on comic booky tech, which is not what the Punisher is about, but he's had it before, so it's not exactly out of the realm of possibility. Sounds to me, whether it's a voice on high or just a writer getting cold feet, it just feels like somebody is either really nervous about getting letters or their political feathers got ruffled. Of course, I could be wrong, but the recent storyline has been awesome, and a couple of issues I can understand because the violence was high, and it really did just feel like a couple of guys wailing on each other in the most violent means possible. Al Ewing is on Spirits of Vengeance. Editorial likes him, but he just can't sell a book to save his life. But isn't that most of Marvel editors? I mean, serious, come on. That's one of the big problems. They just don't know how to put together stories and books that people want to read. Anyway, they just want someone with a love of Marvel lore. Really, there is no evidence of this. To write the magic horror characters, to have them prepped for future movie phase exploration with a Blade reboot. They know that the corner of Marvel horror needs its own annihilation. The whole Marvel Universe needs annihilation. I understand what they mean, but I mean it in the other way. Anyway, I'm going to ignore this for a little bit and just talk while they basically tell us how bad that kids' comics are, and the only kids' comics they have are things that take screenshots from the cartoons. Anyway, have you noticed what's wrong with the Marvel Universe right now? They are taking their cues from the movie universe. That's it. I mean, the movie universe was taking their cues from the comic books, and now they want to tie it so close to it. And mind you, I'm the guy that says make sure that the characters are on the shelf, but I'm not the guy that says make sure that they match the movie in every which way, shape, or form. Have original content, have original stories, have originality with the characters that they see in the movies, and that can be done. But unfortunately, it really seems like they just don't want to. Oh, well, the movie did this, so we have to do that. That seems to be the way they're taking Marvel Comics. So they're taking their cues from an entire different medium, and I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about it. Maybe it's the right way to go, but so far it seems not. Now, have the stories available, yes, but you have to have something new, original, and different. Oy vey. Anyway, I mean, like right here, they say we're in the dark about a lot of the post-Infinity War plans now, but the overarching brand direction we're looking at was scaling it to revolve around Spider-Man, even though Marvel can't make a solo Spidey film. I mean, what the hell does that leave them at? You know, I mean, they're trying to get their comics to match the movies. Just do your own freaking stories. Be original. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, and they say that in the movies they want to make Tom Holland the linchpin, but they still got to, of course, deal with an adult Spider-Man here. There's a reason it was called Secret Empire. The next step was nomading the entire Marvel lineup. There was a lot of editorial excitement about saying something about Trump's win, of course. And they did. There was and the baby boomer backlash. Forget about the 62 million people that did vote for him. No one was expecting the backlash to Hydra. Really? Nobody? That tells you that there's a finger nowhere near the pulse of America. Let's see. They probably could have kept the original plans intact, but I think it was a sales marketing push that buried it. Not everyone here is an idiot. We are aware of how we price gouge comic shops. It is amazing that Marvel does this, because basically they're biting the hand that feeds them. If there's no comic shops to sell to the market when there's only a direct market, who are they going to sell to? Yet they still treat them like crap. It says, I think that was more the issue, and once all the online fan political arguing started happening around the book, retailers just finally threw their hands in the air because it wasn't worth the outrage. Got news for them. The fans threw their hands up in the air and gave up on it as well. It says Ultimate Comics are just an imprint line, not a separate universe. Unfortunately, the article needs a better editor because there's sentences like, but the senior editors had big plans for that push and now there's nowhere else to put it, but we can't just get rid of it forever. And this is in following the sentence, I think everybody agrees it's time to take teens away from Wade, and I agree, get Mark Waid away from the champions. But those two sentences together just don't make sense. And they do talk about the fact that Jason Aaron is off doing the Avengers BC thing, and that's only a mini-series, and that Nick Spencer is done with the whole Captain Sam thing. It was supposed to be the status quo after Secret Empire, duh. But, of course, people backlashed, you know. I mean, why not? Because it was a horrible freaking story, and they originally had planned that Captain America would go back to his maskless super soldier identity. And here we go. This is the one that can really piss you off. I mean, like, seriously. There was no plan to replace all the white men. It's just how the pieces fell into place. Honestly, the Riri thing was the tipping point. It was Bendis' idea. No one in editorial had a big plan for it, and it hurt the big post-Secret Wars push to make Tony Stark the franchise of the MU. And why wouldn't you? Because he is the main reason. He's the main character in the movies which draw people into the stores. But it was a book for his daughter. oh my gosh, everything comes into play. It's all explained now. If it's a book for his daughter, he's not going to want bad things to happen to her because he wants his daughter to feel good about it all the time. So the teenager is smarter than everybody. She knows how to handle the armor better than Tony Stark. She is untouchable because this is a vanity project that Bendis is doing for his child. And if he messes up his Riri Williams, his child may get mad or upset. So editors wanted a fresh voice on Miles in time for the Sony cartoon. David Walker had a good pitch for it, and everybody got excited. But if they take Miles and Riri away from Bendis, they're going to be burning the bridge between them and him forever. Now that's a problem. If you actually have somebody who has a legitimate good angle for a character, give it to them. But they're afraid to piss people off. Screw them. That's what comic books are all about. He was not the first person to write Spider-Man when he did Ultimate Spider-Man. He wasn't the first person to write Daredevil. Creators change, and here's Marvel trying to be... They're afraid to tick off Bendis to the point where he's already messed up the Marvel Universe. Well, some characters anyway. It's like they're just putting too much weight on one guy's shoulders. He is not the second coming. And reiterating on Spider-Man, I'm not kidding. The Slott FNSM run is going to be marketed like Joss Whedon on Astonishing. It's its own thing, unrestricted by monthly continuity, which is code for if it's late, it's late. If it dies, it dies. Honestly, how much are they going to try to humor bad writers anymore? The next bit is about how DC was successful consolidating its offices, and Marvel's a little nervous about doing that too because Disney might draw the Marvel artists into Burbank rather than New York, but who cares? The rest of the article really just kind of reiterates what's already been told. Like right here we get confirmation that the whole Avengers versus X-Men thing was really due to the movies. That they don't like Claremont's run on X-Men because it's the one they have to follow now because it's so popular, but they don't want to, so they want to hide it like Spider-Man's wedding. It's really kind of disrespectful to somebody who was so successful for the company. Yes, Ike and corporate really thought they could replace X-Men with Inhumans. They don't actually care what it is, just as long as they own it. The 05 was seen as a way to scale it back and might as well House of M, the last vestige of Grant Morrison's run, and just make Scott and Emma straight up supervillains. But it's been a mess because no two writers are working together on a bigger picture. And there you go. And Inhumans vs. X-Men really was supposed to kill off the X-Men. Carnage, the big villain for the Venom plans, Power Pack, early development for a free-form show comic could follow, obviously. And the guy says he's sitting in the offices at Marvel writing this down, and nobody really pays attention because he's just a 4chan troll. So, like I said, take it with a grain of salt. Did he actually get this, or is it just all made-up BS? Some of it sounds like it could be legit. Some of it, I don't know. What do you think? Anyway, I really, if any of this is real, it's telling, like I said before, it's telling what direction Marvel is going in, and the fact that they're not running the ship anymore. The movie company is. It doesn't matter who's in charge. The movies are ruling over what happens in the comic books, and that's bad as far as narratives are concerned, because you're always worried about what to do and when to do it. Are you going to match up? I don't know. Anyway, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, you want to see more, click like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell to see more. And don't forget to head on over to Patreon and VidMe. If you like what we're doing here, please help us make these videos. Drop $1 into the till. Good things will happen. Either way, thank you very, very much for watching.